Hello guys, welcome to lecture 6 of our Gemini Code Assist course, and in this video we are going to be enhancing the app that we have built so far. Okay, so in the last video we have been able to kind of set up our Flask project, we've been able to set up our files, we have been able to create the plan for our project, and finally what we're able to do is when we open this route, right, at this port 5000, we have been able to see that our app is kind of now showing up, right? That this is the UI that is there, and so great, right? Without writing a single line of code, we have been able to build this entire website using the Flask framework, also the templates and everything. And we have been also able to write the styling for this. In this video, what we'll do, we'll actually try to write code to create an expense. Okay, so what we'll say, we'll add a button somewhere here in our index.html file, and clicking on this, we should be able to write or basically add an expense, so that whenever we go back to this index.html file, we should be able to see that expense. Whenever we reload, all the expenses should be seen here. Okay. So this is something we have seen, that we are not able to add any expense. And then what we'll see, we'll also in this actions for an expense, what we'll do, we'll also do two things. One, we'll add a button called as edit, right? This edit button will help us basically editing an expense. And in editing an expense, what we'll be able to edit, we should edit, let's say, title, description and amount. These are the three things we should allow the user to edit in case of an expense. And then deleting an expense, we should also have two buttons here, and this edit also will open in a separate form, right? A separate form where we see the expense details, and it should tell that, okay, these are the fields that are allowed to edit. And in deleting an expense, when I click on this, it should directly just delete this expense from here. Okay, so now that we have seen this, and let's verify quickly that our app is running. So this is where our app was running. So let me run this, and yeah, our app is running fine. So what we can do, we can go and see like what is the prompt that we're going to write. So create a button at the top with the text add an expense, modify the front end logic in the templates index.html file. And this is how, if you remember earlier, that there are three ways to write commands inside the Gemini Code Assist CLI. And providing an @ tells the Gemini CLI that, hey, look for this file. We are kind of providing a very specific context. The more context you provide to these LLMs, the better they produce the output for you. Okay, so we say modify the front-end logic in the templates index.html file, add this button at the top above all expenses. All expenses basically this text. Okay. And below the header expense tracker. So this is kind of, I'm saying that this is maybe the header. Okay, this is the front end change. Modify the backend logic in the app.py file. Clicking on add an expense button should open a new route /add with the form capturing all the fields of the expenses, title, description, amount, category in a drop down. So category and all those these categories in a drop down, and spent on, right? Spent on is something that we are kind of saying that, hey, this expense was spent on, let's say 5 days before or 1 week before. And we should be able to kind of allow the user to put this date as an input. Okay, allowing user to create an expense, create a template, add the templates add.html file showing all these fields to handle the creation of an expense. Okay, so what we're going to do is copy this prompt, okay, and then go back to our code editor, and let's quickly write our Gemini again. So this will open up the Gemini CLI for us. Okay, so let me paste this prompt here and and we can see the prompt here. Now let me press enter here, and let's see what Gemini does for us. Okay, so Gemini has made these changes for us, and it's saying that it wants to edit this in template HTML file. I'm guessing that this is the button that it can add from here. So let me say yes, allow once. So we can see that Gemini has added this add expense button for us. Now let's see if now it's doing the route integration for us. Okay, so what it's done, let me see quickly. It has created the template add.html. Let me say yes, allow once, and let's see. Okay, so looks like Gemini is saying I have already implemented the requested changes. The add an expense button, the form and the backend logic are in place. Is there anything else I can help you with? So let me go and reload this page to see if the UI is working fine or not. So let me just reload this. And no, we are getting an error. The error is could not build URL for endpoint add expense. Did you mean index instead? So let's copy this error and ask Gemini only to fix this for us. So let me copy this and paste it here and just say enter. Let's see what Gemini does using this error that we have just pasted here. So looks like Gemini has made some changes. Let's see what the fix is. Let me allow it first. So let's do this. And yeah, so the bug is the URL for, if I go into the index.html file, I think it has created this URL, right? Earlier add expense, but in the template we had add, right? So it should be add. So now it has fixed it. Let's see if we can just reload it and if it's working fine. And we still don't see this error. Did you mean index instead? Let's see what the Gemini does for us. So okay, looks like Gemini has made all the changes. So let me just say please run the app, and let Gemini run the app, and then we'll start seeing that what changes for the add functionality, is it completed or not. Okay, so finally looks like the Gemini has run our app. So let me open this page, and yes, we have a button add an expense. Let me click on this, and we did go to this form, although the UI doesn't look very good, but it's fine. So let me add a title. We went to let's call some restaurant, Wendy's, then team of 5 devs at a party, right? Amount was, let's say, $80, and we spent on food, yes, and spent on which date? Let's change the date. Let's say we did get a calendar. That is really nice. It happened on 9th September, and let's click on add expense. And yes, we do see this expense added to our expense tracker, and let's reload to see that whether we are actually fetching it from our database or not. And we are, right? It's not getting stored just on this page only, but it's actually getting stored in our SQLite database. Okay, and edit doesn't do anything, delete doesn't do anything. Okay, so now we are at a good point where we have been able to add the ability to add an expense to our system or to our app. Now let's talk about the other thing, right, where we want to add features for update and delete. So let's understand the prompt now. So we want create 2 buttons, edit, delete below actions in the index.html file for each expense. Modify the front-end logic in the index in the templates index.html file. Add these buttons below actions in the templates index.html file for each expense. I think this is already done by the Gemini, right? We can see in our UI that inside actions we have the edit and delete part as well. Okay, so anyways, you'll keep it here, and then modify the backend logic in the app.py file. Clicking on the edit button for an expense should open a new route /edit with the form capturing the following fields of an expense: title, description, amount, allowing user to edit an expense. Create a templates HTML showing all these fields to handle the editing of an expense. Clicking on delete button for an expense should delete directly the expense. Okay, so let me copy this expense prompt, and let's go to Gemini. Let's paste this prompt and let's press enter, and let's see what Gemini does for us. So Gemini now asks us to writing to this template edit.html. We'll say yes, allow once. And the second change is edit the template index.html. Yes, allow once. What next? Now edit app.py for adding this route to I think it will be edit and delete part. So yes, allow once. And we have a edit HTML template ready. Let's see what it does for us now. It is creating the route in app.py file for deleting an expense and for also editing an expense. Let's see. Let's go down. So Gemini is saying that I've added the edit and delete functionalities. The application already running, so you should see the changes reflected on the web page. So let's go back. Let's try this. So let's refresh and let's go to edit an expense. And we should only be able to edit title, description, and amount, which is what we instructed Gemini to do. So I will say that no, there were not 5 devs. I think there were 10 devs, right? And $80 is kind of correct for the party. Let's update the expense. And yes, we can see that it got updated. Let me add few more expenses. So this is for Goa travel, team of 10 devs went for Goa outing. Amount was a lot, $500. Category is travel, and spent on, they went on when? They went on 1st September. Okay, let's add this expense and we can see, yes, they went on this date. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete the Wendy's, and let me refresh to actually see if we have all the expenses. They are there. Let me click on delete. And once we delete it, it actually got deleted from our database. Let me refresh to see it. And yes, it is working fine. So our complete full stack app is now ready. Okay. So this is actually all I wanted to do in this video. Is basically we have added new features, adding an expense, going to a new route, and then we can go back and try editing an expense or deleting an expense as well. Okay guys, so that is it for this video. In the next video, we'll try to refine the UI for this. I think this button is looking kind of ugly and the UI is also kind of not looking very good. And whenever I go to add an expense and see this UI is also very ugly. Okay, so I'll ask Gemini to refine this but a few things, and then we'll mark this app as completed for us, which is basically a complete full stack application using Flask. We used Flask to build this complete full stack app, and also Gemini as a AI assistant to do these jobs for us. Okay, so that's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next video very soon. Bye.